Hello everybody, I'm Ben from What Culture. This is Scott from What Culture.
Hello.
We've both played a load of Final Fantasy 15. Now, normally what we'd do is a first impressions video, then a full review. We did actually record a first impressions video last week that was meant to go out very shortly after release because we did get it early. Thank you to Square Enix for that. But, unfortunately, due to time constraints, we didn't have time to edit it, and obviously now we've played loads more, and it will be out of date, and given quite how long the game is, by the time we got a full review out for you guys, chances are you'd have seen the review everywhere else, and there'd be no point. So we're just going to have a discussion instead. What is the question that you're posing, though, ultimately about Final Fantasy 15?
Well, I mean, a lot of the discussion at the minute online is this the return to form? Is this the next truly great Final Fantasy? A lot of people who grew up with the franchise know or have played at least 7 through 10. That seems to be like the twilight years, the golden era. And like, is 15 as good as those games? And that's the big thing. And like, honestly, like, I mean, it's very, very well created. I think it has a very positive impression the second you jump into it. There's a real feeling of a full world right in front of you, and it's not presented in the same way as something like 13, where it was all just corridors and you felt like you were being funneled towards
You look at the
stuff.
world map and it's just like, oh, run and run. And the random encounters in corridors are just, that's not fun. That's not fun.
So, I mean, there's a lot of different things that they've shaken up about this. I mean, you can tell that, I mean, granted, it's been in development for about 10 years, going from Versus 13 to, you know, different things. They went back to the drawing board in like 2011, 2012, and revamped it and turned it into 15. And like, yeah, they've changed up a lot of the core things about the formula, such as like how you level up, the fact that there's an open world now, you can drive. But I mean, how have you found it? I mean, you're about, how many hours are you in?
I'm about 13, 14 hours in.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So it's total 180 for the series. I bought 13, I bought into the hype of it's on PS3, it looks amazing, massive corridor, really boring. And this, they've clearly learned so much from other games. There's Persona mixed in there with the micromanaging of you're with a group of friends and you're running around and doing tedious stuff, but actually it's quite fun because it's got a level attached and you feel like you're actually doing something. Then it's got the open worldness that none of the previous games had, the mixture of vehicles, and that you can't drive off-road with your car, but you park nearby, then hop on a chocobo and run down the hill or whatever. And then it's got the monster hunting element of Monster Hunter.
And like underneath that, like you've kind of got this Dark Souls mentality as well. Like, I quite like the way the XP's is changed. So like, you know, you do battles and you do some certain quests and you'll get XP, but it all builds up, but you can't actually like bank it or use it to level up until you camp or until you stay at like a hotel. Which like changes the way that you approach like the general flow of the game. Like you sort of go like, right, I'm going to do 4 or 5 quests in a row, and then at the end of a day, I'm gonna like bank it all and like sleep for a bit.
But that's the thing.
It's like Souls. You like you bank in your souls kind of thing.
Yeah, it lets you properly role play, and that's what I like. I have to make, and I've not done this in a game before. I have to make a conscious decision. Do I stay at the motel for money, or do I drive out of town in the dark and go to a campsite so Ignis can cook and level up his cooking skill?
The food.
Like, do I want to do that? Yes, of course I do. So I waste another couple of hours doing that. And I've never had to do that in a game before, but I care. I want to do that.
It creates this other world that you can just sort of go, you get the archetypes that they're going for. You get the bit like Gladiolus is the big tough guy, like, hey man, let's go fight. And then like Noctis is like the little like pauper he's like, you know, the little spoilt prince, and he's going to grow into his role. And Ignis is the super intelligent one, and they're all very archetypal. But that kind of works to a strength where, because they're so obvious in their roles, at least at the beginning, it means you can gravitate towards them, you can identify them, and then they play those roles when you're hanging out with them. Like for me, I like the fact that Gladiolus is the guy that's always like checking you. Like Noctis will say something where he's all like, oh, I can't be bothered to do this, and Gladiolus will be like, come on man, like pull yourself together, or like whatever.
And like Ignis mothers him as well.
And like he's the chef and that kind of thing.
I do like that. I do have a question for you though, because I've watched the anime, the sort of precursor anime. There were 5 parts that went out for free on YouTube, I think. 15 minutes long each, and each of them sort of details how they met each one.
The weirdest thing is that none of this is in the game. Not yet, anyway, in terms of these, like, because this is really good character building, but that stuff isn't in the game.
It's not there, which is a shame. But the real question I have for you, though, that I don't understand, having watched that, why does he hate his dad, the king? Because I just don't understand. At the end of the anime, he kneels next to a cliff and cries, but what I don't understand, though, is throughout he shirks his responsibility as the next king. He's like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm a child and I can't be bothered and I'm grumpy. But then he's like, oh, I hate my dad. And I get huge I hate my dad vibes, and I just don't understand where that's coming from.
I think all that is in Kingsglaive, which like obviously all the fans are going to be screaming that in the comments, because I bet that's the core message of Kingsglaive, or the core explanation of why Kingsglaive even exists.
Yep.
I know that movie focuses on Luna Freyr and King Regis. But it's a weird question, because should you have to seek out additional material to understand the game's core story?
You shouldn't.
Does it feel like that enriches the characters more, like far more?
It's nice to know the backstory, I must admit, and as we've said, we don't know deep into the story if more of that stuff is revealed. I know Prompto's come to me after we made camp somewhere. He came and sat next to me, and basically we had a chat. And there's basic dialogue options. Yep. You can basically tell him to get it off his chair, say what he wants to do. So there is a bit of relationship building there.
Yeah.
But equally, it would have been nice to know.
The game just kind of says, like, here are your 4 archetypes. Go have fun.
Yeah.
And it works because it's very nicely put together. But it is weird thinking about how much detail they put into the other media. I mean, for me, it doesn't feel like anything's particularly lacking, other than why does Noctis not like his dad?
Yeah,
we just don't know.
It's only really a question that we're asking because there is this material out there. If it wasn't out there, we'd still be enjoying it. We'd still be like, oh, I suppose he hates his dad. But we're forced to ask the question, why does he hate his dad? Is it explained in the other stuff? Because there is other stuff.
Because he gets quite specific. There's a bit when you first get, you have to pick up a whole bunch of ancestral weapons because you're going to mount the offensive against the Empire who betray you at the start, and you get one of the first weapons, and you get this, and you're being told, like, look, you need to learn how to wield this weapon, and it's passed down from your father and everything, and Noctis is like, why did he choose to save me? Why me? And I'm like, what are you referring to?
Yeah, what are you on about, man? That doesn't make sense. Well, speaking of those ancestral weapons,
yes,
and the combat, talk to me about that. How are you finding it?
The combat is a little bit strange because they've tried to do something completely original. So you don't really press buttons anymore to hack and slash. You kind of like hold buttons to enter phases. So you're holding like square to enter like the defense phase where you'll auto dodge everything, or you can tap square to do a dodge roll, and you're holding circle to attack. For me, like the first few hours, I couldn't get the hang of it at all.
Right.
I kind of just thought that it was always, because the way that they teach you was just like hold circle to attack, and Noctis will just jump in and do a whole bunch of animations, and I was just getting interrupted by enemies were hitting me, and I was just like, there was a lot of things firing off, a lot of stats popping off, and I didn't really feel like I could get the hang of it. But when you sort of like self-discipline yourself and kind of hang back and watch enemy animations a little bit more, it's a little bit more like The Witcher, and it's a little bit more like Dark Souls, where you can hang back, like prioritize dodging, and like just get like enemies in front of you, try not to get surrounded, and a little bit more like you would if you were in that scenario, like don't get surrounded. And you learn to use the teammate attacks and stuff, and the dual, like the double up attacks and stuff. For me, it turned around quite a lot once I just got the hang of it. I mean, what about you?
Yeah, it takes some getting used to, but I actually quite like it. And again, just sort of hanging back, leveling up the particular powers that cause your teammates to do co-op moves with you, which will be randomly initiated depending on where they are in comparison to you, that kind of stuff. So if you start leveling up that stuff, you're like tag teaming these moves and flipping about. You have this bar that you fill up as people are attacked and as you attack, that you can then cash in to get your teammates to do specific attacks.
That stuff's great.
They'll do that, and then you can press a button at a certain time and you can dive in there and have a go.
Yeah.
You're right, completely original. But I really like it.
You're a constant group of 4. Like sometimes people join you and stuff, but you're this constant group of 4. And like if one of the guys goes down, like the AI is quite good at getting next to you and picking you back up. Like because there's nothing worse than being in a game and doing the going down state where you're like crawling around and like just having to watch everything unfold. But for me, like it's very rare that lasts very long. Like you get put in the danger state and you've either got an item you can pop, or one of the characters will just come and pick you back up and be like, get back in the fight, man. That feeds into the whole it's 4 guys on a road trip kind of thing. And like these guys are all like supernatural warriors with like spectral weapons, and they're like, just adventuring in their little car and stuff. They have an overall mission, but the appeal is definitely let's hang out with these people on this actual road trip. Let's stop by in motels. Let's take side quests. Let's go hunting for a laugh because we can.
And fishing.
And lots of fishing. I guess that's one of the things is they all have second like traits.
Yeah.
Noctis loves fishing because why not?
That's not established in the anime. I don't care. It's not important, but
true.
That's never established.
No.
But it's nice. It's nice that he has a hobby.
It is true. Yeah, he's a very angry little man, but he's got fishing.
Well, let's wrap it back up then. Obviously, we haven't got too far in the story yet. Seems relatively compelling so far.
Yes.
That's all good. But going back to your original question, is this a turnaround for the series? Should people care? Should newcomers give it a go? Because they really do hit hard with the whole. This is for everyone. This is for newcomers and old fans alike. Exactly. It says that right at the start. Should people give this a go?
I think so. I mean, I think that it's a very strong showing. Like I said, there was something about 13 that just felt immediately off-putting. It just didn't land the right way. It was mostly down to the world design and the linearity of it. And obviously we had the likes of like Final Fantasy 11 and 14. But in 15, like within minutes, especially if you're an old school fan, you can buy tapes of like all the other Final Fantasy soundtracks, and you can put them on in your car. So like something like driving around just in the car with like Final Fantasy 8's Balam Garden on in the background is like such a lush feeling, and it gives the game a heart, a sense of like soul that I think the other ones have kind of not missed altogether, but just haven't nailed the right way. There was something about those old games, especially 7 through 10, that had that kind of like soul behind it. For me, yeah, I think it is a return to form. Time will tell if it holds up there alongside, especially 7 through 9 or 7 and 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty much overwhelmingly positive for now, especially after I got the hang of the combat, because that was the only thing that was hanging me back for a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, how about you? Is it like?
Yeah, I completely agree. As I said at the start, it's a total 180 for the series. They paid close attention to other series that were doing things right, and they brought it all together. And you can't tell that it took 10 years to make. I think it's fantastic. I think people should give it a go. So there we go. Those are our thoughts on Final Fantasy 15. How are you finding it if you're considering getting it for Christmas or something? Hopefully we've talked you into it or out of it if you're mad. But if you are enjoying it, let us know in the comments below. This has been Scott from What Culture. I've been Ben from What Culture. And thank you for watching.
Bye.